Rain poured over the glowing streets of downtown Chicago, blurring the lights into streaks of gold and red. Emily stood under the hotel awning, clutching her phone, her heart pounding as she read the text again from her ex-fiancé. "See you at the gala tonight. Don't come alone, it'll be awkward." Awkward? That was an understatement. It had been 6 months since he left her, 6 months since she'd watched him walk away to marry into money. And now, she had to face him at her company's charity gala, alone. Emily wasn't the kind of woman who usually cared what people thought. But tonight wasn't about pride, it was about survival. Her job depended on making a good impression, and the last thing she needed was her ex parading his new fiancé around like a trophy while she stood there, heartbroken and single. Then, out of nowhere, a deep voice interrupted her spiral of panic. "You okay there?" She turned and saw him. A man in his mid-30s, tall, impeccably dressed, with eyes that held quiet confidence. He looked like someone straight out of a Wall Street magazine. Emily blinked, half embarrassed. I'm fine. Just having a small crisis." He smiled slightly. "The kind of crisis that involves standing in the rain talking to your phone?" She laughed nervously, then, before she could stop herself, the words tumbled out. "Actually, I need a fake date. For tonight. Just for a few hours." He raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised. "A fake date?" "Yes," she said quickly, her cheeks burning. "It's ridiculous, I know. But my ex will be there, and my boss, and look, I'll pay you. I just can't do this alone." The man studied her for a long second. Then, to her shock, he nodded. "All right," he said simply. "I'll do it." An hour later, Emily and the stranger walked into the grand ballroom of the Hilton. The chandeliers sparkled, violins played softly, and heads turned as they entered. Emily's ex froze mid-laugh. His smug grin faltered as his eyes landed on her, and the tall, confident man beside her who looked like he owned the place. The stranger slipped his hand around Emily's waist, leaned close, and whispered, "Smile. You're doing great." For the first time that night, Emily exhaled. Everywhere they went, people whispered. Her boss, Mrs. Parker, was practically glowing. "Emily. You didn't tell us you were dating someone." Emily fumbled. "Oh, The stranger extended his hand. "Michael," he said smoothly. "Nice to meet you. I've heard so much about this event. Emily's told me what an incredible team she works with." Mrs. Parker beamed. "A charmer. You found a good one, Emily." Emily laughed awkwardly, but something about Michael's calm confidence made her feel safe. Scene. Then came the moment she'd been dreading. Her ex approached, hand in hand with his new fiancé. Well, he said smugly. "Didn't think you'd make it." Michael's hand tightened slightly around hers. "Why wouldn't she? She's the reason this event is even happening," he said evenly. "I've been hearing about her work for weeks." Emily's ex frowned, clearly thrown off. His fiancé shifted uncomfortably. And for the first time in months, Emily felt the balance shift. As the night went on, Emily found herself genuinely enjoying Michael's company. They laughed, shared stories, and even danced once, though she kept reminding herself this was just pretend. When the gala ended, they slipped out to the quiet terrace overlooking the city. The rain had stopped, leaving the skyline shimmering under the moonlight. "Thank you," Emily said softly. "You didn't have to do that." Michael smiled. "You looked like you needed someone tonight. I was just in the right place." She chuckled. "Still, you played the part perfectly. You could win an Oscar." He laughed quietly, glancing away. "Actually," he said, almost shyly, "I've done my share of pretending. Comes with the job." Emily tilted her head. "What do you do?" He hesitated, then said simply, "I run a company. Tech firm, mostly logistics and AI. Nothing too exciting." She blinked. "Wait, you're a CEO?" He shrugged modestly. "Titles don't mean much. People do. Emily laughed in disbelief. Of course. I pick a random stranger to fake date me, and he turns out to be a CEO. He grinned. Guess you have good taste in strangers. As they stood there, the silence between them shifted, soft, warm, real. Michael's expression grew thoughtful. You know, he said quietly, you spent the whole night trying to prove something to people who don't really matter. But when you laughed, when you were just yourself, that's when everyone noticed you. His words hit deeper than she expected. Maybe, she said, smiling faintly, but tonight wouldn't have been possible without you. He shook his head. No. You just needed someone to remind you how strong you already were. A few days later, Emily walked into work to find a bouquet waiting on her desk. A single note was attached. For the woman who didn't need a fake date, just a little faith in herself. Michael. She smiled, touched more deeply than she cared to admit. Weeks passed. The gala became office gossip, but for Emily, it marked something else, a turning point. She started believing in herself again. She stopped shrinking around people who made her feel small. And then one morning, as she walked into her favorite coffee shop, she heard that same calm voice. Hey, Michael said, standing by the counter, holding 2 cups. Can I buy you a coffee? This time, no pretending. Emily's heart lifted as she smiled. Only if you promise it's not a business meeting, Mr. CEO. He grinned. Promise. That night had started with panic and desperation, but it ended with something rare, kindness from a stranger that turned into something real. Sometimes, life doesn't send heroes in shining armor. It sends them in business suits, standing in the rain, willing to say yes when you least expect it. And in a world that often feels cold and indifferent, maybe that's all it takes to change a heart, one small act of compassion, one night of pretending that turns into something real. Moral. Never underestimate the power of a kind stranger. Sometimes, the people who step in just for a moment, end up changing your life forever.